Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 3 and we will be presenting of past year paper June 2019 Part B. There are 3 members, which is the first one is me myself, Nurina binti Muhammad Ronzi, and then my partner, which is Nur Shahira Zahra, and then the last one is Aini Naja binti Abdul Muttalib. Now we will start presenting for questions number 1. The United States and Germany are widely seen as the developed world's two preeminent economic superpowers, yet the two countries' modes of corporate governance are drastically different. These differences are reflected in corporate board structure. The Anglo-American model of one-tier board structure is largely a reflection of the neoliberal norms of shareholders' primacy and free market capitalism. The German two-tier model is in ways a reflection of stakeholder primacy, co-determination, and managerism. Both managements and supervisory board have to closely cooperate between them by ensuring good information flows. Consequently, they should have an open discussion to exchange information frequently, which leads to an effective board decision. Despite substantial differences in sizes, structure, composition, norms, and duties, there has been an increasing convergence in certain board functions, referring to the above situation. So we will be straight away answering questions A. So for the first element, which is structure. For one-tier board, a single board with both executive and non-executive director. For two-tier boards, they have two separate boards, which is the management board, which is the executive, and the supervisory board, which is the non-executive. Next, the second element is in decision making. In a one-tier board, all decisions are made within a unified board. Meanwhile, for the two-tier board, management handles daily operations, supervisory oversees and monitors. The third element is flow of information, which is a one-tier board. They're much more direct and quicker as all boards sit on one board. And for the two-tier board, more structure, which requires a formal communication between the two boards. And then the fourth element, which is a board of composition. A one-tier board often includes both internal and external members. Meanwhile, for the two-tier board, which has clear separation, executive in management boards, independent or external members in the supervisory boards. And the last but not least element, which is accountability. In one-tier board, there are a unified responsibility for governance and operation. Meanwhile, on the two-tier boards, they share the responsibility, which is the management is accountable to the supervisory of the board.
Hi, my name is Nusha Razara and I will be explain the answer for question number 1B, which is the question is explain any two challenges that might be faced by the two-tier board structure. But before that, I want to explain a little bit about the two-tier board structure. So the two-tier board structure, commonly used in countries like Germany, separates the management and oversight functions between the management board and the supervisory board. Why? This model reflects stakeholder inclusivity and co-determination principles, and it differs significantly from Malaysia's corporate governance framework, which follows a one-tier board system as outlined in the Companies Act 2016, Bursa Malaysia Listing Requirements (BMLR) and the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance (MCCG 2021). So, implementing or comparing this structure within the Malaysia context may give rise to several governance challenges, particularly in areas of accountability, independence, and board effectiveness. Here are two key challenges that might be faced by the two-tier board structure in a Malaysian context. We're moving on to the next slide, which is the first challenges that might be faced by the two-tier board structure in the Malaysian context. So the first is accountability conflict, which is in the German two-tier model. The management board handles day-to-day operations, while the supervisory board oversees and appoints the management board members. In contrast, Malaysia's one-tier system per Companies Act 2016 places fiduciary duties and responsibilities squarely on a unified board of directors. If a Malaysian company were to adopt a two-tier structure, ambiguity may arise in assigning legal liability, especially in situations involving financial mismanagement, fraud, or non-compliance under the Companies Act 2016. And all directors, include executive and non-executive, are collectively are and individually liable, which may conflict with the divided accountability in a two-tier model. Malaysia's unified board responsibility under Companies Act 2016 may clash with the split roles in a two-tier system. And also, Malaysia's Company Act 2016 holds all directors jointly responsible, but a two-tier system split decision making and oversight, making it harder to assign legal liability. We move on to the next slide, which is the second challenges that may be faced if Malaysia using the two-tier board structure. So the second challenges is independent consent, whereby the MCCG 2021 emphasized the importance of board independence, requiring a strong presence of independent directors, at least 1/3 or majority for large companies, to ensure unbiased oversight. And then the supervisor board in a two-tier system may include employee representative, as in Germany's co-determination law, which could reduce perceived independence from management. So in Malaysia, this could lead to conflicts of interest, especially if employee elected members are seen as too close to management. So the setup may not meet the BMLR's emphasis on independent oversight, audit committee roles, and risk management. So it's potentially undermining investor confidence. Employee elected members in supervisory board may not meet MCCG or BMLR standards for independent directors, and also employees' representation on the supervisory board may reduce independence, which it will conflicting with MCCG 2021's emphasis on independent directors. We move on to the next slide, which is the other additional information for the challenges that might be faced by the nation if they're using two-tier board structure system. So the third challenges is communication gap, which is it is effective governance in a two-tier board depends heavily on information flow between the two boards, which is MCCG 2021 stresses transparency and timely disclosure. But if communication between the supervisory and management board is weak, it could result in delays or omission in reporting, and it will affecting investors' confidence and regulatory compliance. And it will have it will have poor information flow between boards, risk transparency, and governance breakdowns. And last, effective governance depend on strong communication between boards, but if it lacking, and it may hinder transparency and oversight. And the other challenges is lower decision, whereby the two-tier structure separates decision making management board from oversight supervisory board, which can lead to a more bureaucratic. So, in fast-paced industries or crisis situation, the need for dual approval may slow down critical decision, contradicting the MCCG 2021's call for agile and effective board leadership. So this dual-layer approval can delay actions, especially in urgent situation, and the decision require input from both board, which can delay response, especially in fast-moving business environment.
Hi, my name is Anina Jiha. I will now address questions 2A. Mr. Bishi is the new CEO of Pos Suku Berhad, a logistic company. He is employed and trusted by the shareholders to manage the company due to his vast experience in the logistics field. YY Audit firm has been appointed to act as an external auditor of the company. During the course of audit, YY found a number of accounting irregularities and incomplete data involving transaction between both Suku Berhad and its major supplier. There is also cases that some substantial amount of expenses has been approved without following the appropriate authorization procedures. The fact has been discussed in the audit committee meeting, and the issue has been recorded for appropriate actions. After the meeting, Mr. Bishi has asked why not to disclose the finding to the shareholders. The question is, suggest how to improve the internal control system in the company. Now, I will explain the key points of Guidance G11.1, which outlines how an internal audit function should be structured and managed. Guidance G11.1 states that the internal audit function helps the company achieve its goal by bringing an objective and disciplined approach to evaluating and improving the effectiveness of risk management, internal control, anti-corruption, whistleblowing, and governance processes. It serves as a vital source of advice to the audit committees and the board by highlighting weaknesses in internal processes for timely corrective actions. Internal audit must be carried out objectively and independently from the management and the functions it audits. The person responsible for internal audit must be reported directly to the audit committee, ensuring independence from executive influence. The audit committee is responsible for important decisions about the internal audit functions, including appointment and removal, scope of work, performance evaluation, and budget approval. This reinforces oversight and ensures alignment with the company priorities. When developing the scope of internal audit, the audit committee must ensure the internal auditor has relevant experience, sufficient authority, and standing. The function has enough resources and access to necessary information, and the internal audit team has the competency and experience needed to perform effectively. Internal auditors should continuously stay updated with the latest development in their profession, industry, and regulations. This ensures they are capable of performing root cause analysis, providing strategic advice, and suggesting meaningful business improvement. In short, Guidance G11.1 ensures that the internal audit function is independent, well-supported, competent, and able to contribute meaningfully to a company governance and performance. To improve the internal control system, Boss Sugar Berhad should establish a robust and independent internal audit functions. In accordance with Guidance G11.1 of the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance (MCCG), this department must report directly to the audit committee to ensure independence from executive influence, particularly in light of Mr. Bishi's attempt to suppress audit findings. An experienced chief internal auditor should lead the functions with authority to assess high-risk transactions like those involving major suppliers. Also, in line with Guidance G11.1, the audit committee must be fully empowered to oversee the internal audit functions. This includes responsibility for appointing and evaluating the auditors, as well as ensuring that management responds effectively to findings. For instance, in cases where procedures are bypassed, the audit committee should request a root cause analysis and timeline for corrective actions, holding management accountable for resolutions. To address the issue of unauthorized expenses, the company should implement a formal authorization matrix. This policy must set approval limits and design responsible personnel. For example, any transactions over 50,000 ringgit should require dual approval, perhaps from the CFO and a board member with document evidence. These align with internal control best practices and ensure financial accountability. Another key step is adopting automated systems such as ERP software with audit trails, which ensure all financial transactions are traceable and protected from manipulations. This supports the principle under Guidance 11.1 that internal control should be continually evaluated and enhanced to meet the company's risk profile. Regular risk assessment should also be conducted to monitor areas such as procurement and supplier payment. In response to the ethical issue where Mitsubishi tried to suppress audit findings, Boss Zuckerberg should establish a secure and anonymous whistleblowing channel as encouraged by the MCCG's corporate governance principles. Overseen by the Audit Committee, this channel enables staff and stakeholders to report misconduct without fear and retaliations, promoting a culture of integrity and openness. Boss Zuckerberg should invest in training and certifying internal auditors to ensure competence in fraud detection, risk management, and compliance. Guidance G11.1 emphasizes that internal audit should be proactive and evolving functions. Continuous learning helps the team stay ahead of regulatory and operational changes. In conclusion, improving internal control at Boss Zuckerberg requires implementing a strong independent internal audit functions, empowering the audit committee, enforcing authorization control using technology, and whistleblowing and supporting auditors' development, all in alignment with guidance G11.1 of the MCCG. This step will strengthen transparency, accountability, and stakeholder trust.
Hi, my name is Nashira Zara and I will explain the answer for question 2B. So the question is, explain any two roles of the audit committee in upholding the integrity in financial reporting as recommended by the Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance (MCCG). So the audit committee plays a vital role in ensuring corporate governance, transparency, and accountability within an organization in accordance with the MCCG 2021. The audit committee is tasked with upholding the integrity of financial reporting and maintaining investor confidence. So, in the case of Boss Zuckerberg, where accounting irregularities and unauthorized expenditures were identified during an external audit, the audit committee must act independently and responsibly to address these issues. So the following points highlight key roles of the audit committee in upholding financial integrity and good governance practices. Based on a scenario involving Mr. Bishi and worldwide audit firm, it's clear that the audit committee AC plays a crucial role in safeguarding the integrity of financial reporting. So according to Companies Act 2016, um, and also MCCG 2021, the audit committee is responsible for ensuring transparency, accountability, and ethical conduct in financial matters. So we're moving on to the next slide, which is the key roles of the audit committee with explanation and also example. So the first roles are ensure financial reporting integrity. The audit committee must review and ensure that the financial statements are accurate, complete, and comply with applicable accounting standards and legal requirements as per MCCG 2021 in Practice 9.1. So the audit committee must engage with external auditors to ensure honest and fair reporting. So in this case, the accounting irregularities and incomplete data identified by YY audit should be fully disclosed and investigated. The audit committee is expected to act independently and not be influenced by the CEO's request to hide the information. Failing to do so may breach fiduciary duties and mislead shareholders. And AC must not comply with CEO's request to hide irregularities. So the second role of the audit committee with explanation and example is oversee external audit. The audit committee is responsible for overseeing appointment, performance, and independence of the external auditors. This includes discussing audit findings, ensuring appropriate response to any irregularities, and reporting them to the board and shareholders where necessary, as per BMR and MCCG 2021. So, after being alerted by Wallet Audit about the unauthorized expenses and suspicious bias transaction, the audit committee must ensure that proper action is taken and that the findings are reported transparently to the board or shareholders. Suppressing audit finding, as Mr. Bishi requested, goes against the audit committee's duty and undermines audit independence. and the audit committee should support YY in reporting audit issues to the shareholders. Moving on to the next slide, this is other roles by audit committee that are according to MCCG 2021. So the third roles are review internal control, whereby the audit committee is responsible for assessing the effectiveness of the company's internal control system and ensuring that risks, including fraud and non-compliance, are adequately managed. So according to MCCG 2021, in practice 9.2, the AC should work closely with the internal audit function and management to strengthen the controls. So, the approval of substantial expenses without proper authorization indicate weaknesses in internal control. The audit committee should identify control lapses, recommend by the improvement, and ensure corrective measures are implemented to prevent reoccurrence. So the other roles of audit committee is facilitate whistleblowing, whereby the audit committee should establish and maintain an effective whistleblowing mechanism, encouraging employees and external parties to report unethical or unlawful behavior. So this align with MCCG 2021 under practice 3.1 on ethical culture and integrity. So if any staff or audit member wishes to report missuspicious that request to suppress audit findings, the audit committee must ensure that they are protected from retaliation and that the complaint is independently and confidentially reviewed. So if they support any whistleblower raising misconduct. So, in a nutshell, the audit committee serves as a cornerstone of good corporate governance by ensuring transparent financial reporting, effective risk management, and also ethical business conduct. In this situation, like the one faced by Boss Suku Mahat, the audit committee must act with independence and integrity, whereby upholding its responsibility as outlined in the Companies Act 2016 and also MCCG 2021 by actively addressing the irregularities, supporting the external auditors' findings, and reinforcing internal controls. The audit committee not only protect shareholders' interests but also strengthen public trust and corporate accountability.